everybody. Welcome to this episode of Think Business Live. Looking really forward to talking to Tony Durso, TonyDurso.com. Tony, I was so excited when your booking agent booked you on this show because you've done some amazing things, and I'm looking forward to diving into it. Real quickly, you're one of the top podcasters in the country. You have the #1 talk show on Voice America. Over, I think you said 17 million downloads. Did we say?
Pushing
17 million
17
listeners.
million.
Yeah, 17 million listeners. You're syndicated on Roku and Amazon Alexa and 16 AM and FM US radio stations. You're an Amazon bestseller. We're going to talk about the vision map and just everything business and success. But let's start with the power of podcasting and the power of interviews and the power of what that does in real time. You know, what I love, I've always been a big reader. I love podcasts. I've always been a big reader, but podcasts have kind of taken over to be a more dominant way of my learning because everything is so real time. And you feel this kind of instant connection to not only the host, but the conversation, the person that's being interviewed. So just kind of talk. I just want to kind of start there about the energy of, you know, of just the interviews that you've been doing the last, 6-7 years on your show.
Sure, John. And first of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. It really is an honor to be here to speak with you and your audience. And I got to say, I've never said this before on any interview, but I really like that music, your show intro. It rocks. I just got to say, I like that.
Well, I will introduce you after the you'll stay on after I'll introduce you and make an intro to who did it for me.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to do one for yourself.
Thank you. And that's a whole conversation. We'll spend 20 minutes just talking about that. But let me get to the point on podcasting. Let me just step one step backwards. I've been 32 years. I actually counted 32 years in corporate America. And if you count my paper route boy days, I've been 29 years as an entrepreneur. And when I was running my own lead generation business, I kept hitting issues in the world, federal regulations, protocols that just would impact and bring the business down to its knees. It's happened 4 times in 7 years. And I looked for something that I could do, that I could control, that was mine even more. I mean, it was my own company, but we still have to, follow rules and do things the way they're done. Take a look at what happened last year. You can't help it. And I found I had so much freedom as podcasting. When I found out about it, John, I was like, hey, I can do this. I'm Italian. I can talk. So I just started podcasting. I started winging it. And as I got into it, I didn't know before the energy, the what you get out of it. I mean, I had 0 downloads. I knew 0 whom I call elite entrepreneurs in the business. I had zero friends in that business. I was just 0, 0, 0. But I knew the potential. And to everyone listening, if you don't podcast, you'll know more about it when you start. It just opens up a whole new world. Today, 6 years later, pushing 17 million downloads. I've got millionaires and billionaires as friends. I mean, go figure. It's like, how did this happen? It's because this is the greatest marketing networking tool of all. No matter what you do, whether you plant orchids or you wrench on cars, podcasting is amazing.
It's amazing. I love what you're talking about. I want to kind of dive into a little bit about the freedom of it, right? Because what I love about podcasting, and I think what my guests like about podcasting and what I think they like about the live element of it is it's raw, it's real, and and part of the perfection is the imperfection, right? A glitch here, a fumble over your words there, right? So people get to realize, okay, nobody is perfect. It's not perfectly always polished. And so there is that freedom to just kind of be yourself and forget that you're on the airwaves.
The first thing, and for you that podcast, this. For you that don't podcast, this may be for you. This may be something that resonates with you. You've got to be able. It's when you podcast, you may not like the sound of your voice when it's recorded. You may
Yeah.
not like how you look when it's recorded on video. I had to get through that. Being Italian and everything, and being a very gregarious person, it was still something to get used to
Yeah.
because you're not used to it. But once you can pass that, I call it a little tiny hurdle. It's just, wow, what a
It's great.
world that opens up, John. You know
Yeah.
this. It's like
Yeah.
so great.
You got to leave your ego on the sidelines. I was interviewing my brother the other day, and we were saying, and he made a comment, and I see this all the time. It's like, where did our hair go? You know, like our forehead. Every time we do an interview, our foreheads get a little bit bigger. So let's talk about, and we're going to get into your business a little bit, in a little bit. But I want to, you know, I am a big promoter of everybody having their own podcast. And a lot of times people will say, oh, you know, there's already so many podcasts. There's a podcast in this field and there's a podcast in this field. But I believe that everybody has a unique voice, a unique perspective, a unique frequency, vibration that they bring their interpretation, their lineage to the table, you know, their backstories. And so talk to the people who know they need one, but are hesitant to jump in because they think that it's our, you know, the room's already full.
Understood. A couple of weeks ago on air on one of my shows, we came up with, it was 2.1 million people today are podcasting. That's all. 2.1 million. Well, the intrepidation for podcasters is prior to last year's 2020, the year of madness, I'm calling it now.
Yeah.
We had a word called pod fade because most podcasters will do 7, 8, 9, 10 shows and disappear.
Right. 2 to 7. Yeah.
And back then, not now, but back then, Blueberry said 75% of podcasters don't make it to the next year. So it's very scary. I know friends, they podcast and, you know, a dozen episodes, if that, and they're gone. So you have to realize that when you podcast, it has to be something that you really enjoy doing and that you'll get up in the morning every day to do it because you love it, because this is your life. Whether it's what you do for business, you're a coach, so you podcast for your business because you love that, or you're a consultant or an accountant. And I mean, no disrespect to anyone, but you're doing something and it's not really your cup of tea, but you really like wrenching on cars. Well, then podcast on wrenching on cars.
Amen. Yeah.
And it really helps, that passion really helps bring it out. And because I've done lead generation and I've had my own company for years and years and years, I know a lot about how to drive people. So one of the things I started after podcasting was I do podcast marketing, and I'm the secret weapon for a lot of podcasters. Some of my clients have gone on to millions of downloads. So there's things to learn. So don't, you know, you look at a skyscraper, John, and you go, how the heck am I going to get to the 100th floor? Well, it starts at the ground floor. There's no elevator. There's no elevator in this business. Sometimes you have to walk floor by floor. Learn what you need to learn, but it is such freedom. We just moved our office. I just moved to another part of the country. My shows continue. It's such freedom. I took, not last year, but the year before, I was 3 months of vacations, and my show continued because wherever I was, I just continued my show. It's absolutely amazing when you podcast.
Yeah, no, I love everything you're talking about. And with technology today, I think it's so much more people don't care where you are, right? Because you're not flying to interview people. I mean, you're in California, I'm in Detroit. And I feel like we're, you know, side by side. It's great because the energy of a podcast interview is different than a Zoom meeting. I think that's where sometimes people kind of confuse it. I think you can get very deep and get into a deep connection when you're talking on a podcast, where in Zoom, it's very sometimes it's very business-like, you know, at a business meeting. So I love that. Let's, I want to talk about, you know, you and your business and you as the entrepreneur, right? So a lot of times people will say, is an entrepreneur born, are entrepreneurs born or, you know, built, right? So you were in corporate America and then an entrepreneur. And so, you know, what got you out of corporate America into your entrepreneurial roots?
In the year 2000, I started a insurance technology firm, and I did the fundraise. I started it. I became a co-founder because I knew how I guess I knew how to do sales from my corporate years. And I raised $3.25 million in a 6-month period, just friends, family, angels. And I didn't know anybody, but it's just, it's the Italian in me. I love
Right.
meeting people. So I just went out and just met people, and money started flooding in. We started the business, and I became the VP sales and marketing of that company, doing at the time about almost $1 million a year in lead sales for the company. And that went well. But when you're in a corporate world, everyone knows, if you have a career, you kind of get pegged in your income. I'm making comfortable six
Right.
digits, but unless there's stock options or other things happening, there's kind of a ceiling. So I had the opportunity in the year 2007 to form a new company, a lead generation company. Now I'm at the helm, and I had more free play on the income. I could make more and earn more. And so I did that. So then I went on and started my own lead generation company. And as at the beginning of this interview, I did that for 7 years, but it was beset with regulations and rules. And it was just like last year, all of a sudden stores closed and this and that.
Yeah.
You can't control it. So that's what led me to podcasting. But I still use all my lead generation methodology and understanding, because even when things change, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, if they change their algorithms, whatever, but John, the basics are the basics. And when you
Yeah.
know some of the basics, even if things change, I can still drive and let people know that I'm there. It's really just letting people know that your podcast is there. That is the most important thing in podcasting.
Yeah.
You could have a great, you probably know a great food somewhere in your city, but they don't have many customers.
Yeah.
But you probably know a food that's not so good and it's worldwide and they have a zillion customers. The whole difference, John, is marketing.
Yeah.
And
Marketing is king.
when you learn that, you can be successful, I believe, in anything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. I love it. What are some of those basics that you're talking about? What are some of the, because I think a lot of times those basics are hidden in plain sight to many people. Right. And so they can't, like you said, you're teaching people podcast marketing. I'm a business coach. I also help people, get their podcast up and running. And as a business coach, no matter what I'm doing, in many cases, there are things that are hidden in plain sight to the client, but to you, it's as clear as day. And so what are some of those basics that raise that level of awareness and perspective and consciousness and lens to the people that you're talking to?
That's going to take about 3 months.
We only ask
I
big
do.
questions here.
No, I will answer that very succinctly. I've taken what I've learned and I help and I do the marketing for podcasters and bring a lot, and it's very, very reasonable. But the key thing that I did to launch my business was I used everything I learned in school. I've taken lots of classes. I've read lots of books. I graduated summa cum laude, entire collegiate and university career, 4.0 GPA. I did good, and I learned a lot about how to start and scale a business. And I created a book, which is coming out. I've passed out a booklet, but now it's coming out as a book called Creating Your Vision on Amazon, but it's not ready yet. But I worked out the vision, like, where am I going? What am I doing? What do I see myself doing? Yeah, right now I'm giving it away free, but I've turned it into a whole new book now. Thank you for showing that. And so it's, what's your vision? Where are you going? And I do a whole keynote speech on just that. And then underneath it's your purpose, and underneath that is your objective. Where are you going and what you're trying to accomplish? Who are you being? What are you doing? What are you accomplishing? And those things I wrote up for my show when I first started podcasting. And when you have those kind of basics in place, it really launches. I mean this really seriously. It helped propel my show by really understanding where I'm going. And you hear of focus, and you hear of people getting the cobwebs out of their thinking. You hear of people being the block to their own success. Well, I don't preach or teach any of that, but I say, get your vision in place, your purpose, your objective, your master plan. And I explain all these in my speeches. And when you get those in place, John, whatever you're doing, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a career, whether it's something brand new or not, it really helps. Yeah, there it is. Vision, purpose, long-term object. And I can explain each one of these is just like, oh yeah, that's a word, that's a vision. But wait a second, John. Eggs, sugar,
Yeah.
flour, water, salt, vanilla. You know those words? Okay, go make me a really delicious chocolate souffle. It's like, what? So yeah, you hear these words, but I teach how to put that all together to really make it. Give you an example. I taught a student the vision map, and at the beginning, he was doing 5 sales a month of a health food product on Amazon, 5 a month. Well, in the second month of teaching him the vision map, he was up to 12 sales a day. That says it all right there.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. Let me ask you a question. When it comes to vision, right? I love talking about vision because I think a lot of times people need to really clarify their vision and then keep their vision alive every day, right? The ideal leader is keeping the vision in front of their people on a daily basis as well as themselves, because everybody needs to be reminded, especially in a world where attention spans are less than a goldfish, less than 7 seconds. People are more distracted than ever before, and decision fatigue is a very, very real thing. So they need to be reminded that the decisions they're making are connected to the vision in a workplace. And we can talk about personal too, but from a work specifically. And so talk a little bit more about, keeping the vision alive. So a lot of companies, and I see this where they create a vision and then they have it on the wall. They don't really talk to it. They don't reference it. They don't anchor to it. And so that's a problem, because then everybody creates their own narrative in time. And then you've got a little bit, of a mess to clean up to rebuild culture, vision, et cetera. So can you kind of talk on that piece, Tony?
Absolutely. What you hit on is beautiful. And I encourage the audience, listen to this again. We just said these things called words, but they mean so much. I've been in corporate America, and I can tell you, it's not supposed to be a poker game. Yet the CEOs, the corporate level, and I was in corporate, I understand, but I ran things differently. They think it's a poker game. What does that mean? Well, you're holding the cards there and you're not telling people, you're not telling your vendors, your subs, you're not telling your employees. It's not a poker game. You have to tell people your vision, not just put it on the wall, as you said, which I think is brilliant, but talk about it. Why, and your purpose. Why are you doing this? Why are you guys making your widgets or wrenching on cars or helping orchids to grow or whatever it could be? Why? And you want people that work with you to resonate with that. And what are you trying to accomplish? What's your objective? And there's a lot of different ways to say that, and everyone listening right now is going, oh yeah, that's a goal. Yeah, but let me make this a little bit more clear. A goal gets so confused and so misdefined and so incorrectly defined. I've seen speakers and read books. It's a goal is something you do in an hour, a day, a week, a month, 3 months, a quarter, half a year, it's a goal is also a ball in a net. So I call it an objective. I call it a long-term objective, but I don't mean like the old days. Yes, the old days, 50, 100 years ago, you know this, John, companies would have a 15-year, 20-year strategy. I mean, it's like, what? You got to be joking. Today, it's a whole different thing. You can make a millionaire overnight. You can make a millionaire in hours. It's just a whole different thing. So I say long-term objective, which for you, it depends on how long you want to go. When I first started my radio, my long-term objective took me to about a year or so, and I accomplished it. So you really need to have these pieces in. I hope I've answered that question.
No, you did answer it.
Okay,
you did answer it, but you also answered, you brought up another point, which is, a 15, 20-year vision is very difficult, because pre-COVID studies were pointing to that by the year 2030, 85% of the jobs that exist in 2030 did not exist, in 2020. This was before COVID. That probably accelerated a lot of that, people say. And so we're moving into an area where there's a lot of jobs, at least that, colleges are adapting to teach critical thinking because they're teaching to a job market that they don't know is what it's going to fully look like. And so I agree with you. It's hard to do a 15, 20-year vision, much easier to kind of, have an idea and then have a 5-year, for sure 3-year, reverse engineer to the 2-year and the 1-year, and then reverse engineer it to what you got to do every day. So I love what you're talking about. I want to rewind. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
John, I'm so glad you talked about jobs, because I just want to say this very loud and clear to the audience. You may not see it coming because it's happening very slowly, but computers, AI, technology is going fast. You don't see it every day. You're doing what you're doing. You don't see the whole world necessarily, or the big picture. So it's happening very, very fast. And let's call it the grunt work, and I don't mean disrespect, is being done by computers more and more and more.
Yeah.
So for you fresh out of college or looking to do something, I highly recommend look for something you can control yourself as an entrepreneur and create something, because those jobs, I mean, I've been in corporate America. We got laid off, I think, at least 3 times. You're going into work on a Friday, Friday afternoon, 3:00, you're expecting a nice weekend. You get laid off, with no more pay, no bonus. It's happened to me. So, and I'm not trying to scare anyone. This is not about fear, but it's like, really look for what you can do yourself, even if it takes time to build. It is the way, I think, to prospering, is running your own thing.
Yeah, I love that. Rewind with me and the Think community, and give us the Reader's Digest version of, the earliest you can kind of think back to a seed that was planted that gave you kind of the insight that you'd be doing what you're doing now. That seed mentor that was planted may not have sprouted right away, but it was there.
Well, what's really interesting is when I was 5 years old, and this, by the way, is not scripted. You would think, oh, it's scripted. No, it's not. When I was 5 years old, I'm watching a movie about Romans, and I could be mistaken. I think it had Victor Mature in there. I don't know why, but that's what's coming up in my head. And it was about Romans fighting whoever they were fighting. And the one thing stated throughout the movie was, all roads lead to Rome. So that means you didn't have to know where Rome was. You're in Europe, and you just know you're going that way. Camera see me? You're just going that way. And the road eventually navigates, and there you are eventually, however long it takes in Rome. And that came to me right around the time when I was podcasting. And so, and I'm going to talk about a mistake that I see entrepreneurs make. And this is I think, a big takeaway. I know SEO is trying to do something against it, but you can still get smart and work around. And that is, you've got something. Okay, well, take me. I podcast. I talk about podcasts. Well, I write a book. Well, the normal thing people do is they create another website. Oh, put it over there. Oh, and then I have a class. Oh, put it over there. And I have this, put it over there. Well, you're bifurcating, you're diluting your audience. And so what I do is, all roads lead to Rome. Put it all on your website, as long as it makes contiguous types of sense.
Yeah.
And I'm like 99%. You got a class, put it on your site. You got a book, put it on your site, and promote there. And to this day, I see, and some people go, it's a no-brainer, but I'm telling you, to this day, I see very high-profile people. All of a sudden, there's a new website about something new. But what about the 1 million or 2 million people they're getting a year to their website? Now they have something that's all blank. So look at that. And I use that to grow my social media and promote my podcast and stuff. And it all kind of syncs together. Very important lesson.
I love it. All right, quick speed round for you, Tony. Ready?
I don't know what the speed round is, but here I am. Let's go do it.
Favorite book and why?
I didn't hear that.
Favorite book and why?
My favorite book and why is Beach Money by Jordan Adler. He talks about his vision and how he created his vision, which was the impetus for me to create that word and put that word on my book, The Vision Map. I owe a lot to him. I filled out all the rest of the vision map, but get Beach Money by Jordan Adler, and you'll understand in chapter 3 why he got down on his knees and cried.
All right, good. It sounds great. Best piece of wisdom you've ever received?
Wow. We're going to hear the clock ticking on that one.
The 30-second best piece of wisdom you've ever received.
I'm going to stick with all roads lead to Rome because I use that so much,
Yeah,
John.
I love
really
that.
do.
I love that. Define yourself in one word.
Italian.
Okay, that's a
gregarious.
good one.
Okay, that's 2
That's
words.
a good. Finish this sentence. One thing everybody needs to do to take the first step to start their own podcast is.
I can give some tips on that, but the first thing is work out your vision map.
Yeah.
MAP. Work out what you want to do, how you want to do, where you want to do. It is so critical. And then you can still wing it, but you got to work out your vision map.
Yeah.
It is so critical. And it's what helped me and all my students to great success.
I love it. And tell people who your ideal clients are, a little bit more where they can find your podcast and how they can connect with you, Tony.
My ideal clients are podcasters that want to grow their show and get a lot more exposure and engagement with their audience. And I help that. And I also have a new service now. We now grow Instagram followers. There's 4 ways to do Instagram followers. 3 of them I consider are not super honest. I'm not going to say the word fake. I didn't say that word. Right. But there's one way to do it. And that is put a post on social media and say, follow me on Instagram. And those that follow you want to know your content. That's the way I do it. And TonyDurso.com is my website. You can find out more about me, my services. You can reach out. There's a message box. Makes it really simple. TonyDurso.com.
I love it. Tony, you have been a pleasure to have on as a guest. I really appreciate everything that you said, but I just want to highlight the importance of your message of having a vision and creating a vision map and taking the time. I talk a lot about as a business coach, whether I'm coaching a solopreneur or a Fortune 500 or 100 company or anything in between, you've got to take that executive time, that quiet time to build out a business plan, a vision, everything you're talking about. Yes, you need people to work with you to help you do it and get you in the right space and create that space. Yes, but you also need to take time to do it. And I think it's so important. And I love your message. I love your energy, and I appreciate you being on the show. Think Community, if you have a podcast that needs more exposure, reach out to Tony and Tony Durso, TonyDurso.com. Tony, it was a pleasure. I appreciate it. Thanks, everybody. Tony, thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me on, John.